open the page.
I don't want to hear you say that.
Put that umbrella around the one and take it off you.
Warum?
We break this bread to share in the body of Christ.
The Bishop of Winchester School in Bournemouth came out of special measures 2 years ago. The maths department's under pressure to improve on its 22% A to Cs and is targeting a 3% increase. Historically, maths has had difficulty in recruiting quality staff. John Bayley's here to help out a new boy. Jeff Garnett spent 25 years in primary schools, but was made head of maths here 5 months ago. He's about to observe Joanne Warner, who's become his closest ally. Jo's targets include improving her questioning techniques and upping her pace with higher achieving groups like her Year 8 top set. As a manager new to the job, can Jeff critically assess such a close colleague?
I want to see how many you can do. The clock is ticking. Off you go. Yes. Do the questions on the back. Do the questions on the back, yes. But obviously don't take too much space up, OK? OK, so the clock is ticking, ladies and gentlemen.
The starter, getting the kids involved whilst they were doing that first bit, I thought was really good, well organised.
Can you just put your hands up? You've got 20 out of 20. Well done. OK? At the end of the lesson, I'll come and give you some maths credits because that's really good going. OK.
The main core of the lesson, I thought that she got involved with that, explained everything very well indeed, so the children knew exactly what they were doing.
Today's lesson, we're looking at substitution. What level are we working at today? Yep. 5. Level 5. OK? By the end of today's
When I saw the level 5 up there, I think I was a little bit disappointed, and it could have been split into 5A, 5B, 5C. And possibly there were some elements that touched on to level 6 as well. I would have liked to have seen that explanation come through.
Right, if we're looking at the next sort of level we're doing this, we actually bring substitution into formula. OK, we've got a formula here to convert temperature from Celsius into Fahrenheit. OK, the formula is here. F equals 9C divided by 5 plus 32. We want to convert 35 degrees C into Fahrenheit. I've started for you here, so you can see what I've done. OK, you can try and fill in the rest. I'm only going to give you about 2 minutes. OK, so question 1, exercise 10D. Once you've finished that question there, OK? And if you're not sure about it, don't worry, go straight to the exercise.
I noticed that quite late in the lesson, about 3/4 of an hour in, she was having to explain various bits of process or issues that the children still hadn't got to.
Right.
I won't go to that.
I know
right
what you
now.
mean, because I've actually highlighted mathematics, language and vocabulary.
4 times 1 minus 3. Yeah. Yep. But it's a minus. OK. So if we've got 4 times minus 1, what are we going to have?
Minus 5.
Excellent. And then we take another 3 away.
Lots of children needed extra help, and people helped. Obviously, you can't cater for everybody when you're trying to help one, so that's why I interjected, I think is a word, and helped. Are you clear with that now?
Yeah.
You sure? OK.
So we do 3 times 3 plus 5.
What I would have liked to have seen from just a few of the children was a bit more discussion, and perhaps some of the questioning techniques could sort of bring that discussion.
You see at the very bottom there, it says convert 35C. So on that equation, C plus 35. So you're going to put 9 times 35 divided by 5 plus 32.
9
The idea.
9 times 35.
There's 2 areas that I can actually see I can work on in particular. The first area is looking at
Sub-levels?
Sub-levels.
Getting the climbing frame right.
Getting the climbing frame right. And then finally looking at maybe how we can actually look at involving the children more.
The word that I had written down was oracy. I'm standing fairly close to that child at the back of the room, Ziggy.
Wherever you see the C, put in the number she's telling you instead.
The act of substitution is causing him trouble. He's not sure about multiplying or adding. So he's not quite sure whether 5x, if the x turns into a 4, whether it means 5 add 4 or whether it means 5 times 4.
It's the BODMAS, isn't it?
It's BODMAS, yes. Yes. But it's not quite that he doesn't understand BODMAS. The child next to him knew he was going wrong, and they'd exchange glances. Right. And it was a bit like, if you're writing a comedy programme, the child next door gives it a look. Ziggy looks at it, looks uncertainly what the kid's doing next door. And then they both put their cards up, and then Ziggy pulls his down quickly and rubs it out. Right. And so I'm thinking, I want these children to have permission to talk to each other.
Okay. Right, put 7 times 2 here. Equals 14. And then add 8. Okay. If you carry on doing this working out, you'll start to see how you're doing it, okay? Yep.
Another thing that's not happening in the classroom is I'm not hearing children being asked or being expected to explain the operations out loud. I want Ziggy to hear this language because he's far from being a stupid child. He just hasn't quite got it.
I understand the point you're making.
Yeah.
So 4 squared, what's 4 squared?
16.
Yep, plus 3. What's the answer?
19.
19. Okay, so you need to do that with the others.
So it's a minus number, so it's going to be a minus answer. So 7 times minus 2 is minus 14.
So there's them helping each other. There's the use of children to vary the explanation.
Yeah, it's collaborative, isn't it?
Yeah,
basically.
and the habit of explaining or working out loud.
Can you show me, using your thumbs, how do you feel about the chapter you're doing? Thumbs, see them? Right, so I've got a few people with thumbs up and a few with half, but none with down, which is fantastic.
There's Ziggy, he's got his whiteboard, and they've got their thumbs up and they've got their thumbs down.
Yes.
And that's interactive in the sense that they're giving feedback to the teacher in more than one way.
That's right, and they're given a lot of action with that. And in that process, what's happening is that the teacher has provided a way that these children can learn with the activity of the whiteboard, the activity of the worksheet, and the activity of the envelope.
Right, who's got envelope number 1? Oh, Ziggy, can you open envelope number 1, please? What is it?
2C add B.
Envelope number 2, please. George has envelope number 2. George?
C equals 5.
Can you work out the answer? C equals 5.
I like the way she used the resources, especially with the envelopes. I thought that was a really good exercise, and the children feel engaged. It could have been a boring lesson where it was more didactic than it was interactive. She made it interactive in a way that everybody had worksheets, or they looked at the whiteboard, or they had the white writing boards to write on, and that was good. So resource-wise, she met her target as far as I was concerned.
Let's see those boards.
It's not oracy, they're not discussing the problem with each other, and maybe that's the difference we need to make.
Right, check your boards.
Yeah, and so there's interactivity sort of for its own sake and because it raises the general level of engagement in the room.
That's right.
But where's it coming into land? How is it deepening both the formers of explanation and the people who are explaining things to each other?
Both work together well. Perhaps we saw a bias towards one kind of interactivity and not the other, but they do work together well, and perhaps that's an area we can look at.
I liked the activities I did. I liked the fact it was varied. I was really pleased with the fact that I managed to get some of them onto the actual formula work. I think I'm going to try and bring the envelope system in more often, because I think that's a nice change of pace. And continue, keeping my lesson a good pace and work on that and improve.
Okay, so say if we looked at one area of your performance and it was pace, what could... If I looked at that in a term's time, 2 terms' time or a year's time, what do you think your own personal target would be?
I'd want it pretty much spot on.
Right, so...
I think my starter dragged a little bit,
right.
and then that affected the main part, the main delivery.
Right, okay.
So I think my starter needs to just be tweaked a little bit better.
Okay.
Maybe think about changing the activity they do.
Right. I want you to think back to when we actually worked together.
Yep.
And we looked at assessment for learning.
Right.
Remember, I made comments in my books and I shared those comments with you.
Yes, yeah.
What struck you in particular about some of the assessment for learning work that I showed you?
Well, it's to say positive.
Right.
And then it's how to improve
right.
and how to go on to the next level.
Right.
So I should have had that on my whiteboard or somewhere. Well, we've discussed it, maybe.
We've discussed sub-levels, haven't we?
Yeah. So
how do you see you're improving with your assessments?
You notice how I use a colour scheme?
Right.
With the darker bit where the learning outcomes on,
right.
I could get my classes used to knowing that if I put like an A next to it, that's
right.
a 5A.
Right.
If I put a B on, that's a 5B, and I could follow that method.
Okay. And you'd obviously follow that up from the national curriculum and actually use that
definitely.
as a
from
support
our levels in our classroom, yeah.
Excellent stuff. Okay, I think we've covered those 2 elements quite well. It would have been nice to sort of listen to what they were saying, to actually just see if they understood what the lesson was about.
Yeah.
Do you think you could create opportunities for that to happen?
Definitely,
Right.
definitely.
When you're talking about opportunities for children to talk to each other and to listen, what might that look like?
Well, maybe I'd reconsider how the tables and chairs are set out. From an outsider's point of view, or anyone that's coming into the classroom, it's going to look like the class are just talking amongst themselves, which is exactly what I want. Now, the problem with that is I've got to make sure they're actually talking about the questions and not what's gone on in the playground this morning or whatever. So I think I need to train them and develop that skill within them to really explore their thinking and how they approach a question and how they work in a team to come up with some answers.
If you take the view that all management is kind of a mixture of support and direction,
yes,
you did it in a very collegial way. What are going to have to be your main characteristics to assist her?
My main character, to be fully supportive for a start and to be a good listener. I've got to sort of obviously politically talk with the people I am responsible to. That's not the right word, is it?
With the department under pressure to hit its targets, John suspects Jeff might also need support.
What do you need from your managers?
I need support, I need resources, maybe extra staff.